and all is still go as we monitor our status for it. Good luck and Godspeed.
Have you ever had a premonition, a feeling that something dreadful was about to happen?
No, Mother, I have not been drinking.
Do you happen to have a pair of birds that are just friendly?
We all go a little mad sometimes.
I have to go back into the past once more, just once more.
This is HitchPod, a podcast counting down the 20 best movies of the wonderful 20th century director Alfred Hitchcock. I'm Kat Jones and this is Dan Lipke, and we're comparing the sixth best Hitchcock movie, which is Strangers on a Train, with the movie the Oscars deemed to be the best one from that year. That was An American in Paris.
Yes, but before we begin, we always give a cryptic clue for the next Hitchcock movie.
That'll be number 5, right?
That
We're
will
getting
be
into the
number
top 5.
Yes, but because we like cryptic crosswords, we always do our clues in cryptic form. So here's a cryptic style clue to the fifth best movie. Got the entire episode to see if you can work it out. So the clue is, this movie will be back in 3 equal 40-minute chunks. 3 letters and 5 letters.
There you go.
Yes.
All right, let's launch into An American in Paris from 1951.
Yes, so it has an IMDb rating of 7.1 out of 10, a Rotten Tomatoes score of 95%, and a Metacritic score of 83%. So that's universal acclaim. Our good friend Bosley Crowther,
Hey.
he gave it a thumbs up.
All right.
Mostly based on the final dance scene, which he
God.
said was one of the finest ever put on the screen. And he also liked Leslie Caron, who's the female star of the movie. In contrast, we had the monthly review, and they said, it is merely a good musical, far more attractive than most, but considerably less than the material seemed to promise.
But it did win loads of Oscars.
Yes.
And possibly because, everyone had friends. Friends had friends, maybe. But it won Best Picture. What else did it win? Best Director.
Best Director for Vincent Minnelli, Best Writing, Cinematography, Art Direction, Costume Design. Also nominated for Best Editing and Best Score. Yeah, you may notice that there's Best Acting. There's no Best Actors in there.
Yeah, it's missing. Did it win Best Dancing, though?
No.
I don't even know if that's a thing.
That's not a thing.
It should be a thing.
It should be a thing. If it was a thing, it probably would have won that one, yes.
Yeah.
It is a little bit difficult to find streaming versions of this for free, but you can rent it from your various online providers, your Apples, your Amazons, or if you like, you could just borrow it from Kat because she's got it on DVD.
I do, don't I?
Yes. Who does it star?
Well, the main star is Gene Kelly, and he plays a guy called Jerry Mulligan. I mean, he's just so famous for dancing in lots of movies, but most famous for Singing in the Rain.
Yes, and Xanadu. Of course.
later on for Xanadu.
Yes. As mentioned, it also has Leslie Caron. She plays Lisa Bouvier. She was in Gigi 7 years later and Chocolat 49 years later.
Whoa.
So she stuck around.
Yeah, we have Oscar Levant, who played Adam Cook, and he was kind of a comedian who was cast because he was a friend with lots of people. He was known for his wit, and he also later appeared in radio shows and other TV shows. But he starred with Doris Day in her debut film in 1948, and then he would later claim, I knew Doris Day before she was a virgin, yes. Which is a wonderful line. He had lots of lines like this apparently in his later career.
Then there's Georges Guattari, who plays Henri Borel. He appeared in lots of French movies, but not many other English ones. He's just, I'll tap into this one, then I'll tap out.
Yeah,
then there's one more character in the movie.
One more? I mean, lots of main characters, really. These people all had a lot of screen time, all of them. Nina Foch, who played Milo Roberts, and she also popped up in The Ten Commandments and Spartacus. I can't believe The Ten Commandments or Spartacus had any women in it.
No, well, apparently they did,
Yeah.
and she was the one. She also has another claim to fame. She was the first person whose murder was investigated by Columbo. She was killed in the pilot episode, and Columbo sorted it out for her.
Oh, excellent.
Well, not for her, but for everybody who was left behind.
Yeah.
So the synopsis of this one is that 3 friends struggle to find work in Paris, and of course things become more complicated when 2 of them fall in love with the same woman.
Classic triangle here.
Yes.
Writers, Alan J. Lerner, who'd also gone to write the previously mentioned Gigi, and he won an Oscar for that, and wrote Paint Your Wagon, Brigadoon, My Fair Lady, Camelot.
Yeah.
He was writing everything back then, lots of success. And the director, Vincente Minnelli, he was a bit distracted during this movie, but he would also go on to direct Gigi. Lots of people. I mean, you work better with your friends, don't you?
Yes. He did also previously directed the original Father of the Bride, which is a big hit.
Yep.
And of course, he's quite famous. He was married to Judy Garland, who he met 7 years earlier.
I love that he's famous for that.
Yes.
That's fantastic. I mean, I'm sure he had a very successful career of his own, but of course we don't really remember that later on, us youngsters.
Yes. So, yeah, they met on the movie Meet Me in St. Louis, which he directed and Garland starred in, and they were married a year later, and they did several movies together. They also had a couple of kids, including, of course, famously Liza Minnelli.
Yeah.
But they divorced during the filming of this movie. So I don't think it was related to the filming of this movie.
No,
it just happened to coincide.
They divorced during the filming of the final sequence of the movie, which no doubt was related.
Yeah, could well have been. What kind of movie is this one?
It's a musical.
Yeah.
It's a romantic musical, basically.
Yeah.
So let's get into the plot. If you haven't seen it, I'm not sure there's any real spoilers here. You could probably guess the plot just from what we've said already.
Yes. If you can't, I'll give you the tagline, which may give you a
yeah.
clue. What a joy! It's MGM's Technicolor musical. So there you go. It's a musical and it's in Technicolor.
Yep.
All right. So let's crack into this plot. Don't sweat about spoilers. So we finished with World War II and we meet a few inhabitants of Paris, and we meet them all via kind of dueling voiceovers, maybe trueling voiceovers. There's 3 of them. First up, we meet Jerry. He's played by Gene Kelly. And he is the titular American in Paris, and he's trying to succeed as an artist. He's got this tiny little apartment, but he's kind of optimized it. He has all these little tricks to access all things.
I'm pretty sure, IKEA was based on how he set up his apartment.
Yes. And he's got a neighbour named Adam. This is Oscar Levant, and he's a struggling concert pianist. And Adam works with singer Henri.
He seems to be more successfully finding work than the others, but and he is French. The other 2 are both American.
I think so. I'm not entirely clear on Adam.
No,
anyway.
I don't know whether Adam is. Anyway, they catch up for a drink, often in song. I don't know. Henri tells him all about his new girlfriend, Liz, who is the Leslie Caron character, the ballerina. And there was cuts to her character, changing her personality with every updated description that he provides about how wonderful she is, and she does a dance routine for each of these personality traits.
Yes, I thought for a while this was going to be kind of the gimmick of the film, because most of the voiceovers had them, the camera panning up and stopping on somebody and them going, oh, no, that's not me, keep panning up. So I thought it was going to be very break the fourth wall and have this kind of thing, which it did for a little bit and then kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, they kind of went into a proper movie style.
Yes.
But it was an entertaining way to start the movie, actually.
Yeah. Anyway, we have a bit of a random song about the merits of 3/4 time, and then Jerry heads off to sell his paintings, and that's when he catches the eye of Milo, who is a rich woman who buys a couple of paintings from him and then invites him to a party at her house later that night.
So he's pretty happy. He's got a bit of cash in his pocket. He heads home and he sings the famous song, I Got Rhythm, with the local street urchins.
Yep.
He then tap dances for their enjoyment and, frankly, for our enjoyment as well. And then he heads off to the party. And that's when he discovers that it's not really a party, it's just a private dinner date between him and Milo.
Yes. So Jerry kind of takes some kind of offence at this. He insists he doesn't want to be a paid escort. Milo assures him, no, I just want to support your art. And they 2 of them just head off to dinner. But while at dinner, Jerry's head is turned by a young woman. He goes, oh, I quite like the look of her. So he heads over to this other woman, asks her to dance. And what he's unaware of is that this is Henri's girlfriend.
And he's also unaware that Milo's protestations were not correct. She in fact does want him as a paid escort. She doesn't like him hitting on some random woman and calls him rude. And then Jerry says, okay, well, I'm kind of out of here. So he leaves her alone and then promptly starts stalking Liz in a very creepy way, tracks her down at work, disturbs her, helps her make a sale, perhaps that she was going to make anyway. But anyway, worn down, she kind of agrees to go on a dinner date with him.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a bit of a song and dance on the dinner date.
Yeah.
It's
kind of a song and dance in almost every scene.
Yeah. And then Lise races off to see Henri do his song and dance routine in his latest show. But he arrives a little bit too late. But Henri takes this in stride. He doesn't really seem to care. He's had a successful show. He tells her excitedly, I've got an offer to go to America to do my singing and dancing there. And he says, you shall marry me and you shall come to America with me.
And then we can do a movie called A French Guy in America.
Yes.
Anyway, about now, Adam comes back into the picture and has some kind of dream sequence in which he's a concert pianist and also every other character, and it's kind of weird. But, you know, he can clearly play the piano.
Yeah, he's a brilliant piano player. His hands are like, there's rocketing around the keyboard.
I mean, this, of course, is in his imagination.
Yes.
We have no idea if he really... He does play the piano in a few scenes, though.
Yes.
So.
But I don't think there was
very
a
random.
stunt pianist taking his place. He was genuinely playing the piano.
Yeah. He's not really necessary in this movie, is he? Anyway,
No.
Poor Adam.
Yes. Anyway, so we've got Jerry and Lise. They're continuing to date for a bit. Lisa's ignoring the fact she's engaged to Henri. She's just, oh, fine, I'll date you. Jerry's kind of ignoring the fact that Milo is still pretty obviously into him. She's sorting out art studios for him, and yeah, she's keen on him. He doesn't care about that either. These two are just slowly falling in love, I think.
Yeah. Or rapidly falling in love, as the case may be. Anyway, Lise, there's this occasional people bumping into each other a couple of times in the movie. Jerry is asking Henri for advice then about women. Henri tells him, just love your girlfriend like I love Lise. And then they have a song and dance routine about how wonderful it is to have the love of a faithful woman, and without realising that this one woman is the same woman.
Yes. So taking Henri's advice, Jerry pops up over to Lise that night on their nightly date and says, I love you. And she says, I'm going to marry Henri. And she's, I do love you, but I've got to marry him because he looked after me during the war when I was a child. So another kind of slightly creepy aspect there. So she kind of thinks she owes him the rest of her life. So anyway, that's where we are with that relationship.
And we know how deep that love affair was when Jerry immediately recovers and decides to take Milo to a ball. Yep. Where, of course, they run into Henri and Lise, the four of them running into each other. And then Jerry and Lise say their final goodbyes on the balcony, but Henri has overheard this. Anyway, Henri and Lise leave together, and Jerry doesn't leave with Milo, I don't think. But
no.
Anyway, he's not very happy. He would rather be with Lise.
Yes, he tears up a sketch that he's drawn with his artistic skills, and then Take On Me style, he's sucked into the sketch, and that becomes the background for a long, elaborate and long dance scene with Lise. For a little over an hour, they dance together in the scene.
I think it was technically only 17 minutes, but it's a long 17
like an hour.
minutes. Yeah.
Anyway, by the time it's over, Lise has jumped out of the car. She runs back to Jerry, says, see you later, Henri, and that's the end of the movie. Yeah. That's it, we're done.
In fact, it's almost like something else must have been going on while this dance sequence was happening. It's such an abrupt ending, isn't it? Yep. Anyway, Bosley Crowther thought it was pretty good.
He thought it was great. I thought it was long, that last scene. But yes.
I was just flicking through my phone. I mean, it was really, it wasn't the best dance sequence, wasn't the best song. No. It was not surreal enough to be interesting. It was just, oh God, are we stuck in someone's dream?
Yeah, pretty much, I think. Yeah. I think we were going through his tormented psyche as he was trying to work out what was going on. I don't know. I kind of
Finish your
tuned
movie
out
20 minutes earlier. It was a long movie. It is a long movie. You can skip that last bit.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't mind a little bit of a musical, especially if you got catchy songs.
Yeah, and in that era, the songs were very catchy. Yeah.
Dancing's good. Enjoyed the urchins singing "I Got Rhythm." Yeah, that was good. But yeah, a little bit of musical goes a long way for me. And that last sequence, I was literally tap dancing out at that last sequence.
The tap dancing is just so joyous, isn't it? It's the early songs of tap dancing when are they going to go into tap dance? Are they going to tap dance again? I mean, Gene Kelly's so incredible.
Yeah, he's a great dancer.
Yeah. And people were just so complimentary of his style and how physical and how kind of he was famous for being a dancer, but not in a kind of a foppish way. He was a very masculine dancer, which everyone thought was wonderful at the time. And a good contrast, I think, to Leslie Caron, who was very much a ballet dancer. But they still danced well together.
Yes.
Yeah. But they didn't look good together, did they?
No.
The romance was not convincing.
It was not convincing, partly because I can usually, I'm fine to overlook romantic partner age differences in Hollywood movies. It's just like,
you
fine.
Have to. Yeah.
You don't really have a choice. Hollywood's going to Hollywood. But she looks about 14.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm really struggling to get past that.
And he really did look like well north of 40.
Yeah.
So it was, and she looked young because she did grow up in wartime Paris and didn't have enough to eat. So, she's probably only just got through puberty, however old she was. Genuinely 20 I think 19 or 20 in this movie. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a nice... It didn't look good.
Yeah. I did enjoy, there's some good lines between Milo and Jerry early. There's some good banter as they first met.
Yeah.
But that plot point didn't really go anywhere either.
No.
She just kind of wandered out of the movie for a little bit. I'm not even convinced she needed to be in the movie. Like, you had your love triangle, you had your Henri, Jerry and Lise, and she wasn't ever a viable option, except for once Lise said, "No, I'm done with you."
There was there's no arc for her.
No.
She just vanished. If she'd ended up with the other dude, that might have been something.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to have, even for your minor characters, some kind of
resolution.
Yeah, but there really wasn't anything for her. Anyway, what are some other facts? Did you look up what Minnelli was thinking, the director?
Well, before we get to what he was thinking, I would just like to point out there were a couple of superhero cameos in this particular movie. The woman who was buying perfume would go on to play Dick Grayson's Aunt Harriet in the Batman TV show of the 1960s.
There you go.
Aunt Harriet was brought into the show because people were worried that Batman and Robin were gay. Bruce and Dick were gay, so it was just like, we need a woman in the show. So Aunt Harriet came on.
How did that stop the speculation?
I think as long as there's a woman there, they can't be gay.
Okay.
Doesn't matter if she's an aunt.
That was a 1960s rule, right?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And there was an art student very early on who criticised Jerry's paintings. She would go on to play Lois Lane in the Superman TV show of the 1950s.
Huh.
So
yeah, that's right. He said, she's just a student. And she looked about 45 as well, so I'm not sure she was a student, but anyway.
Yes.
Oh, well.
So how was this movie made?
So Arthur Freed was a producer of An American in Paris, and he was a big deal when it came to making musicals for MGM, and he'd been, he'd done The Wizard of Oz, for example, and was friends with Ira Gershwin, and he just wanted to adapt some of Gershwin's music, including already an orchestral piece called An American in Paris. He thought it would make a good movie, so it was really
so this is George Gershwin's piece who he wants to adapt. So he asked Ira, can I adapt? Because George Gershwin was dead by this stage.
Yeah.
Can I adapt George's piece? And
the estate said yes.
Yep. I mean, they had to pay for it, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so the plot really was around a piece of music, which is an interesting way of going, and perhaps explains why the plot was a little flaky.
Yes. So the original orchestral piece was written in 1928, and they just said, fine, we'll just make a musical out of this. They got Alan J. Lerner in. He just cobbled together a random plot, which was mostly just an excuse to string Gershwin songs and Gene Kelly's dancing together. Just like, there we go.
Yeah,
that's a plot.
And all of the songs in it were already famous. There was no song made famous by this movie particularly. They were all dated pre-war too. They're all sort of 1920s, 1930s songs that would have been very familiar, and the audiences would have loved seeing these songs and hearing them in this movie.
Yes. So Minnelli was brought on to direct, but he was apparently distracted quite a lot because of this previously discussed divorce from Judy Garland, which meant that apparently Gene Kelly had to step up and do a good chunk of directing as well.
And he always did all the directing and the choreography of the dancing, and then a lot of the scenes, because even just walking in and out of scenes, Gene Kelly liked the choreography style of that. So he was very interested in where people were on the set. So I think that's really interesting, the way, a dancer might have a different perspective on that and be able to contribute to it. And Gene Kelly directed lots of other movies after that.
Yeah. So, and he was the obvious choice to star in this one. They apparently did briefly consider Fred Astaire, but went, nah, Gene Kelly's our man.
And it was quite comedic in its way. I don't think Fred Astaire was that good at comedy.
No. Anyway, Kelly was the one who got Leslie Caron the role in the movie because he was vacationing in Paris and saw her perform in a ballet and said, yeah, she's really good. I'd like to have her in the movie. Yeah. Kelly also said, hey, we should shoot this film on location in Paris. And MGM went, no. Let's calm down a little bit, Gene. Yeah. So we'll shoot it on sets in California instead. Yeah. But a nice try from Gene Kelly to get a holiday in Paris as he shot this movie.
Yeah.
But his kind of delight with Caron, who didn't speak much English, didn't last particularly long. She, as you mentioned, she suffered from malnutrition and she just got tired very easily.
I think she had glandular fever during the shooting of this movie, so she would have been absolutely exhausted probably.
So she only worked every other day, which made Gene Kelly shitty. So
And most of Caron's clothes, they were recycled from another movie, from Elizabeth Taylor, Father of the Bride. I presume they had to be adjusted and taken in.
I would have thought so, yeah.
Particularly the
From Elizabeth
the top
Taylor.
half. Yeah. But anyway, that's...
I guess Manelli had access to those clothes and thought, well, I'll chuck
why
them on
not?
whoever's in here.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that was a great plan because while most of the movie was kind of shot in 6 weeks between August and September 1950, they did take a break to prepare for the big final ballet sequence. And Manelli just said, all right, while you sort that out, presumably he left that to Gene Kelly because he ducked off to shoot a sequel to Father of the Bride, presumably taking the clothes with him.
Yep.
He shot Father's Little Dividend, knocked that over in 3 weeks, came back to do in
Is
December.
Father's Little Dividend, an alternate title of that, is that son or daughter of the bride?
Yeah,
It's
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway. Okay, so yeah, he got sick of the film too.
Yeah, he certainly sick of the final dance sequence.
Yeah.
But he did come back theoretically to film the ballet sequence while he was also finalising his divorce. So he had a busy few months there.
So this was a big critical hit, and audiences loved it as well.
Yep.
The critics loved it, earned $8 million at the box office, which must have been a lot at that time. Nominated for 8 Oscars, and Gene Kelly did win an honorary Oscar. I don't know if it was for this movie, was it?
No, it was, yeah. It was,
right.
it was it was at this Oscar ceremony, whether it was for this movie. The Oscar was in appreciation of his versatility as an actor, singer, director and dancer, and specifically for his brilliant achievements in the art of choreography on film.
Okay. So
No actual acting nominations for this movie, but...
And deservedly so.
Yes. So what are some good lines from this particular movie?
As you mentioned, there were a lot of good lines between Jerry and Milo. And Jerry, this is after telling a woman looking at his work to buzz off.
Telling
this is
Lois
student,
Lane.
Lois
Yep.
Lane.
Yep.
Yeah, American college kids, they come over here to take their 3rd year and lap up a little culture. They give me a swift pain. And Milo says, why? They're harmless enough. Jerry, they're officious and dull. They're always making profound observations that they've overheard, which is quite good.
Yes. And then Milo introduces herself. She says, what's your name? Jerry says, Jerry Mulligan. What's yours? Milo Roberts. And then Jerry says, Milo? And she says, yeah, as in Venus de.
And Jerry, this is quite a famous line actually. Jerry says to Milo at the party, which turns out to be a dinner party for 2, "That's quite a dress you almost have on." And Milo says thanks, and Jerry says, "What holds it up?" And she replies, "Modesty."
Yes, very good. And of course, as you mentioned, Adam, he also has a few good quips. Given that the actor was a renowned jokester. So he kind of, in his introduction, he says, I'm a concert pianist. That's a pretentious way of saying I'm unemployed at the moment.
Yep. Another one from Adam. It's not a pretty face, I grant you, but underneath its flabby exterior is an enormous lack of character.
Yes.
So classic switcheroo on the comic line there, and he has
as one more later when Henri advises him, be happy, you only find the right woman once, and Adam goes, that many times? So yes,
excellent.
Do we pass the Bechdel test?
It's a fail, I think. There is at some point a female character talking to Lise in a perfume shop, but I don't think
Aunt
she's
Harriet.
named. She's not named, I don't think.
That's Aunt Harriet, yes.
She's only named by us in hindsight. So no, not enough women. And look, I'm not sure Milo and did they meet once at the party at the end? They could have met. It would have made the movie more interesting.
I'm sure they don't talk about anything other than the men they're both dating.
They do not.
Yes. What about modern technology? How might that impact or improve or change the plot?
I'm not sure people these days go into the streets of Paris with their artwork, hanging it on nails on a fence. I'm pretty sure they just go onto Pinterest these days, don't they?
Yeah, I thought, he'd put it on Pinterest, put it up on Instagram, sell it via
Etsy
Etsy, something.
Yeah.
But you could have Milo being an influencer who champions his art that way. So he's just got a very small following.
Yeah.
And Milo says, no, everybody should follow Jerry. So you can make that work.
Yeah, that's good.
I also thought that instead of trying to teach the young French children how to speak English via the medium of song and dance, Jerry could have just signed them up to Duolingo, teach them how to speak English that way.
Yeah, that's great. So that gets us to tributes and remakes and so on. There's loads of stage adaptations of this because that's where musicals really shine when you see them live.
Yes.
What else have we got here?
Well, apparently La La Land, which I haven't seen, it apparently had an epilogue that referenced the set design and costuming of An American Paris. And director Damien Chazelle, he wasn't wasn't shy about this. He came right out and said, An American in Paris is a movie that we just pillaged. So
Yeah,
fair
fair
enough.
enough.
Good work too.
That's nice.
Yes.
And of course, the sequel to An American Werewolf in London, that was An American Werewolf in Paris.
Yes. So I'm sure that's also doubles as a sequel to An American in Paris.
Yeah.
It's a crossover sequel.
Yep.
All right, so what about the Oscar movie cinematic universe? We've seen quite a few Oscar movies now. We've tied a lot of them together. Can we weave An American in Paris into our Oscar movie cinematic universe?
I think it has to relate to this wartime era movies that we'd had. So we did Casablanca, right?
We did Casablanca, yeah. I'd kind of like to see Humphrey Bogart and Claude Rains celebrating their beautiful friendship by popping back up to Paris and doing a bit of a song and dance. That'd be good. Just
I
tap
can
dancing
imagine
in the streets.
Claude Rains doing the
Imagine Humphrey
dance routine.
Bogart.
Trying to tap dance or disdainfully just watching a dance routine going on.
Yes.
Maybe not. All right, let's see whether or not there are any Hitchcock elements here. Do we have a MacGuffin?
I reckon Jerry's art career is the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody really cares about
No.
it. It drives a good chunk of the plot. It's the whole reason Milo's hanging around.
Yeah.
I think ultimately nobody cares about his art
But
career.
it's why he's in Paris.
Yeah.
He could be in Paris for any reason.
Yep.
And no one really cares about it and it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, you're right. That's a MacGuffin. Excellent. What about a cameo?
Well, we
Where
didn't
would we
have
put
an
that?
actual cameo,
Oh.
but if we were to have one, at one point you do see Jerry do a double take when he sees Winston Churchill doing a painting by the river. Not the real Winston Churchill, an actor playing Winston Churchill.
Yep.
And sufficiently vague that I wasn't aware that it was supposed to be Winston
No,
Churchill
I didn't
until I
even
did.
notice that.
Yeah, but that's who it's supposed to be.
Right.
But anyway, maybe he could have also seen the director of the film Painting by the River and done a double take at him as well.
Was that supposed to imply that Winston Churchill was unemployed after the war?
Presumably, yes. He'd retired and just moved to Paris. An Englishman in Paris.
Yeah.
Do you have a mother character?
I don't really think we do. I
No.
mean, really, the oldest woman is Milo, not really a mother character. So what about Ordinary Man?
Well, we've got a little bit of a mistaken identity. We've got a little bit of mistaken identity stuff with Henri urging Jerry to go after the woman he's in love with, kind of oblivious to the idea that the
Yeah.
woman in question is his fiancée. So yeah, more mistaken identity than Ordinary Man, I think.
We don't have a smart young woman
No.
at all because Liz is definitely not a smart young woman.
Yeah.
What about staircases?
We do have a great big song and dance scene.
We have a
where,
song about a staircase.
Yeah, Henri dances up a lighted staircase to George Gershwin's "I'll Build a Stairway to Paradise." Yeah,
Yep.
major stairway scene.
Yeah, that's definitely a highlight there. Well, is it a highlight? I mean, it was an entertaining number, I guess.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
Perfectly good.
So what other tropes did you find that we do have? So no real Hitchcock tropes here going on.
didn't really hit. It skipped a lot of the classic Hitchcock
Yep.
tropes. Not a chair fight to be seen.
Yep.
Not all bumbling cops. Miss both of them.
No.
But other tropes it did have, and these are courtesy of TV Tropes website. We have got the age gap romance. So both Jerry and Henri vying for the affections of Lise.
Creepy old dudes.
Yes. We've got the big-lipped alligator moment.
What the
Do you
hell?
want to know what the
No,
big-lipped
what is
alligator
that?
moment? So this is named after the random musical number sung by a big-lipped alligator towards the end of the film, All Dogs Go to Heaven. And it's a scene that comes, this is the explanation, a scene that comes right the fuck out of nowhere, has little to no bearing whatsoever on the plot, is way over the top in terms of ridiculousness, even within the context of the movie. And after it happens, no one ever speaks of it again. So this is the final dance routine.
Yes, that's fantastic.
All right, that's what we got. The big-lipped alligator moment, final dance
And plus,
routine.
it took a lot of the budget as well.
I'm not surprised. It
Yeah.
looked very expensive. It
Yeah.
looked very complicated. So I can see how it's technically impressive. I just kind of saw that within the first couple of minutes and I was like, that's enough, wrap it up. We have the disposable fiancé. So this is poor old Henri who takes his wife-to-be off to the airport or wherever to fly away to America, then says, no, that's fine. I'll go back. You can be with Jerry.
Yeah,
Okay.
crazy.
Yep. We've got the friend to all children. So this is Jerry who adores kids, although he does hate college students. So
Yeah, okay.
you've got to be below a
You've
certain
got to be
age.
in the sweet spot
Yeah.
there, but he did a lot of dancing and singing with the children.
Yes. We've got Gay Paris, of
Yeah,
course.
of course, yeah.
We've got the sliding scale of fourth wall hardness.
Oh, that's good.
So that's a great name. And this refers to when Henri is describing what Lisa's like, and every time he changes his mind about her or her qualities and goes to clarify, the music, the environment, everything changes. So the fourth wall's not as hard as it ought to be. It kind of moves around with his descriptions.
Fantastic.
So, shall we see how Hitchcock missed out?
Hitchcock could have borrowed from An American in Paris, perhaps. We know the two movies do not have much in common. Strangers on a Train and An American in Paris, completely different movies. So obviously some more singing and dancing from Guy and Bruno.
Yes.
I mean, they could have done some numbers together.
They could have done multiple numbers.
On the train,
Yeah.
getting off the train, all sorts.
Well, speaking of which, I did ask ChatGPT for some song titles for a
yes.
musical version of Strangers on a Train.
Fantastic.
And then I added a song title of my own. And the game here now is, can you guess which of these song titles is mine?
Oh, goodness.
Only one of them is mine, and
Yep.
the rest are from ChatGPT.
What have we got?
And I've also got kind of the genre of the song as well,
Right,
the
okay.
style of the song.
Oh, good, yeah.
So the first song, Crisscross Crimes. This is the vaudeville with a kind of a sly undertone. This is a song where I guess Bruno's explaining how the crisscross murder is going to work. Crisscross Crimes. Then the next one is called Miriam's Last Ride, and this is a ballad, probably sung by Miriam, as she goes into the tunnel of love and comes out and then is strangled at the end of
That's
it.
a little creepy, and this is probably why thrillers don't usually have the musical genre in combination.
All right, well, the next song suggested either by ChatGPT or myself, Strangers No More, and this is pop rock. This is when Guy kind of he realises that Bruno's done the murder and starts popping up in his life. So Strangers No More, bit of pop rock.
Yep.
The next song, Lighter in the Drain. This is a little bit of dissonant avant-garde as we to cover the scene where he's trying to get the lighter out of the drain.
And there was an ensemble there ready to do a dance routine around the lighters in the drain.
Yeah, yep. And then the final song is called Round and Round, and then in brackets, and round and round and round and round and round. This is kind of frenetic, swirling vaudeville music hall to of course, accompany the carousel scene. So which of those ones do you think is mine? Is it Crisscross Crimes, Miriam's Last Ride, Strangers No More, Lighter in the Drain, or Round and Round and Round and Round and Round and Round and Round?
I love how all of these are vaudeville songs.
Yeah.
Look, I couldn't possibly guess. I think you've made up Miriam's Last Ride. Surely that wasn't one that ChatGPT went for. No?
ChatGPT thought Miriam's Last Ride was a great idea.
It was in
for a
great
song.
taste. Jeez.
No, the
I'm
one.
surprised you didn't come up with something like The Smashed Glasses then.
Yeah, might have been even better.
Yeah.
No, the one I came up with was Round and Round and Round and Round and Round and Round and Round. So yes. And of course, what else could Hitchcock have done to maybe pick up on some An American in Paris juice?
We need the final scene to be 17 minutes long, which I guess is the carousel going around and round and round and round for 17 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, it could have been like psychedelic.
It did go for a fair while,
It did go
didn't
for
it?
a while, yeah. It just needed to mirror Guy or Bruno's psyche a little bit more.
Yeah, right.
A little bit kind of surreal, psychedelic. Hitchcock could have done that. I think the problem Hitchcock had, rather than making his 17-minute scene the carousel scene, he did that with the tennis scene, the scene before. So
yes.
that was his problem there.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's pretty much all Hitchcock could have done if he wanted to pick up on An American in Paris. So better luck next time, Hitch.
Yep.
So where do we rank An American in Paris against the other Oscar movies we've watched?
Where are you going to put it?
I'm going to scroll down my list here, down and down and down and down.
It's quite deep, is it?
It's below Marty and it's above Mutiny on the Bounty.
Oh, God, so it's almost at the bottom.
It's 9th out of whatever that is, 13.
9th out of 13. And,
Yes.
there are still some things below it. Around the World in 80 Days, for example, is below it.
Yes.
I'm
What about you?
I'm
Where
going
are
to
you?
rate it a little bit higher. I'm rating it above. I liked it better than The Best Years of Our Lives.
Right.
So I'm putting it 5th, actually, under Wings. So my top 4 are Casablanca, Gaslight, Rebecca, and Wings. The single
Yep.
word titles, and then An American in Paris, because I quite like this. And obviously I must have really liked it
Yeah.
at some point. I've got the DVD.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so now it's time to reveal what our next movie will be, which, of course, as you mentioned earlier, takes us into the top 5 Hitchcock movies as voted on by our listeners.
And we have the cryptic clue. I'll recap. It is this movie will be back in 3 equal 40-minute chunks, 3 and 5.
Yes. So the answer, of course, is The Birds.
Yeah.
And the birds, we make up the birds from that cryptic clue because 3 equal 40-minute chunks are thirds. That's 3/3 of the movie. B back is EB. So if you put EB in thirds, you get The Birds.
Yes.
So there we go. So we'll be rewatching The Birds from 1963. This was my third-ranked Hitchcock movie. That was number 1 for quite a while, but it eventually dropped down to 3. Where'd you have it?
I had it number 6. So it was well and truly in our top 10.
Yes. So will either of our opinions change on a rewatch? We will let you know next month. In the meantime, if you have any questions or feedback on The Birds, feel free to send them in to feedback@hitchpodonline.com. We'll do our best to answer them in the next episode.
And we'd encourage you to listen to our first episode of The Birds, which is released out from behind the paywall for people to listen to.
Yes.
The Birds, whenever several years ago when we first podcasted about it.
Yes. And of course, this one is also based on the novella by Daphne du Maurier, The Birds. So we'll open the HitchPod book club again over on Patreon. So sign up to Patreon, patreon.com/HitchPod. A couple of bucks a month. You can join the book club. We've just finished doing the book club on Strangers on a Train. So I finished reading that last night and have just updated with my final thoughts.
So it did take us quite a long time to read Strangers on a Train. Took me a while, and you've just finished it. Not our favourite Highsmith works.
Yes.
But anyway, Daphne du Maurier is a much shorter book here, The Birds. It is available in audiobook version in many different types of versions on Spotify.
Yes.
And also Audible and other places.
I'm sure you can find it in a library somewhere as well. So track it down, join us for a read. And
it's only 2 hours in audiobook format.
Nothing. We'll speak to you next month, shorter than this podcast.
Exactly.
Well, maybe not.
Thank you for listening to HitchPod. Please come and talk to us on
Blue Sky
at
HitchPodOnline.com.
or on Facebook by searching for HitchPod. And you can also email us directly at feedback@hitchpodonline.com. And if you want more Hitchcock content, please consider becoming a HitchPod supporter. Just go to patreon.com/HitchPod. And for as little as $2 a month, you can get access to our Season 1 coverage of every single Hitchcock movie, as well as bonus episodes on Hitchcock-esque movies. Invitations also to watch live rewatches and much, much more.